Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Benita Zahn.
And I'm Jim Cambrick. 10 people, 2 separate investigations, all charged with corruption, and most have ties to Governor Cuomo.
Now, to be clear, Governor Cuomo is not charged. Here's a look at the intricate web laid out by federal and state authorities. The main players named include Joe Percoco, whom Cuomo has referred to as his father's third son. Also, former lobbyist and Cuomo confidant Todd Howe. Also indicted SUNY Polytechnic head Elaine Calieros and the head of Columbia Development, Joe Nicola.
We have team coverage of these 2 major investigations, from how they started to how the charges came about.
And we begin now with Asa Steka live outside the state capitol. He's got details on the federal charges announced today. Good evening, Asa.
Well, good evening, Benita. Good evening, Jim. This 79-page document outlines overlapping schemes that allegedly used your tax dollars to line the pockets of state officials and corporate executives. And if what they say is true, the system was rigged, and you paid for it. 9 defendants, 33 felony charges, and your money allegedly used in a pay-for-play web of state government corruption.
Bids were rigged, and the results were preordained. Companies got rich, and the public got bamboozled.
Head bamboozlers, former Cuomo aides Joe Percoco and Todd Howe. In Scheme 1, Percoco used his enormous power as Cuomo's top aide to allegedly try and get energy company Competitive Power Ventures state approval to build a $900 million power plant in the Hudson Valley. Percoco also allegedly helped Syracuse developer Core get state bids for projects. In exchange, his wife got a no-show job with the energy company, and he got paid $322 grand in bribes between the 2 of them.
In other words, hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes for hundreds of millions of dollars in state contracts.
Former Cuomo advisor and now lobbyist Todd Howe and SUNY Poly president Elaine Calieros are part of Scheme 2, rigging the bid process so friends of Cuomo got millions of dollars in state contracts. That's Core and LP Simonelli, a Buffalo developer.
With the heavy hand of Calieros and Howe, bid proposals were secretly tailored to favor either the Syracuse developer or the Buffalo developer.
Howe has already given up and pled guilty to 8 charges. He's cooperating with investigators. Calieros is out as SUNY Poly president. This is all around Governor Cuomo, but he isn't named.
That there are no allegations of any wrongdoing or misconduct by the governor anywhere in this complaint. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, Governor Cuomo said in a statement, "I have zero tolerance for abuse of the public trust from anyone. If anything, a friend should be held to an even higher standard." He's referring to Percoco there. There's other 6 defendants I didn't name. They're executives from those 3 companies that I did name. Reporting live in Albany, Asa Steka, News Channel 13.
Asa, thank you.
Now, this is not just a federal investigation. State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman announced state corruption charges today as well.
And here, too, Elaine Calieros is one of the men charged, along with Columbia Development head Joe Nicola. And Calieros, we've learned, has been suspended without pay.
Dan Levy joins us live from Manhattan, where those charges were announced late this afternoon. Good evening, Dan.
Jim, good evening to you. Here in Lower Manhattan, the Attorney General certainly didn't mince any words, characterizing the alleged scheme involving 2 of the Capital Region's best-known movers and shakers as brazen, arrogant, and stupid. The Attorney General alleges that Elaine Calieros used his perch atop SUNY Polytechnic to engage in brazen bid rigging, using taxpayer money to enrich himself and his cronies.
Calieros gave insider information to friends and fixed the bidding process to ensure his cronies won lucrative contracts, funded in part by the state of New York.
The bids in question were to build dormitories at SUNY Polytechnic's Albany campus, and according to Schneiderman, Calieros sent Joe Nicola of Columbia Development Corporation an email a year ahead of time, before the RFPs were made public.
We allege that he ordered bid requests called RFPs to be written in such a way that only one company, his favorite company, could possibly qualify to win the bid.
In addition, Schneiderman says Calieros agreed to steer future state contracts to a preferred contractor in exchange for a $50 million loan to the nonprofit development corporation affiliated with SUNY Poly, on whose board Calieros serves.
This is an inexcusable way for a state official to behave. This is an excusable way to do business in the state of New York. These charges are yet another important step in ensuring that there's one set of rules for everyone in the state of New York, no matter how powerful or connected you may be.
And keep in mind, the state charges announced by the Attorney General are separate and apart from the federal charges announced earlier in the day by the United States Attorney Preet Bharara. The state penalties are different from the federal penalties. If convicted, Dr. Caballeros faces up to 12 years in prison. If convicted, Joe Nicola is looking at the possibility of 1 1/3 to 4 years in prison. Coming up at 6 o'clock, why the Attorney General believes that Operation Integrity has been such a big success. Live in Lower Manhattan, Dan Levy, News Channel 13. Jim and Benita.
Thanks, Dan.
So you've got to ask, and we're going to answer, who exactly is Elaine Caballeros?
Dan Bazell takes a look at the founding president of SUNY Polytechnic and the influence he's had on the region. Good evening, Dan.
Jim, Benita, good evening. Well, these are shocking allegations of the people we spoke to today. People who have known Caballeros for more than 2 decades now. And they say that he started out just as a physics professor at UAlbany, and it was his vision that created the College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering that you see behind me, and basically created Tech Valley in the capital region.
For former Assembly Majority Leader Ron Canestrari, it was tough to see Elaine Caballeros' name among those in state and federal criminal complaints.
To see it from Elaine and the other individuals, it's terribly upsetting, and we have to see how it plays out.
Canestrari dealt with Caballeros as part of his work in the state legislature, specifically around the time when he says the SUNY Polytechnic Institute president only had a vision of turning the capital region into a high-tech area.
He is Tech Valley. Without him, we would not have had the Tech Valley concept in the Capital District.
Canestrari says Caballeros worked under several governors of different parties to make it all happen, and that goes all the way to Global Foundries in Malta and, of course, the College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering, contributing to jobs, manufacturing, and education. But now Caballeros is facing accusations of wrongdoing, a bid-rigging scheme for state contracts, according to U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara.
So that the contracts would go to hand-picked friends of the administration. Friends being the euphemism for large donors.
Caballeros has been suspended without pay. The SUNY chancellor and chairman released a statement saying, quote, "It is imperative that any charges brought against SUNY Poly president Elaine Caballeros today do not distract from the educational mission, groundbreaking research, and academic operation of SUNY Polytechnic Institute, or negatively impact the thousands of students, faculty, researchers, and staff that the campus serves."
The SUNY chancellor and chairman, they say that there will be an interim leadership here at the College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering, and then they will appoint someone to lead this place. But for now, it is still unclear exactly how all of this will affect Elaine Caballeros' work here in the capital region. Jim.
Thanks very much, Dan. And stay with News Channel 13 for continuing coverage of these stories. Coming up on Live at 5:30, a closer look at Columbia Development and its projects here in the capital region. Plus, team coverage live at 6. To check out the federal and state complaints or to watch Preet Bharara's entire news conference, go to our website at WNYT.com.